Hey everyone, my name is Kristin Zika and I am the Grants Chair serving on the Impact Central Illinois Board of Directors. And I just want to welcome you to our recorded training session for the grant review committees as we kick off the 2023 grant review process. I really want to thank everyone who was able to join us in person on January 10th at Peoria Next Innovation Center, and then those who were able to log into our Zoom meeting last night on the 12th. But this is an additional resource for those of you who want to revisit the training material or for those of you listening in for the first time. So we are so glad you are here and that you have stepped up to be a part of this grant review process. We welcome you and we look forward to working with you as we move towards determining the 8 finalists who will ultimately compete for over $325,000 in June. Our grant cycle did kick off on January 10th with the opening of our new online portal, and it is now accepting LOIs or letters of intent from our local nonprofit organizations, and they can submit them now, and we will begin the review process soon. Those LOIs which we receive through the portal are the proposals which you will consider as we move through the grant process. So in order to give away such high dollar grant awards every year, we rely on members who agree with the idea that we are truly better together. Each of our members is equally important, which is why we believe in one woman, one vote. And each woman allows the grants that we award to be truly transformative for our community. There is no requirement for involvement in Impact Central Illinois, which is why we are especially thankful to those of you who are willing to share of your time and talents to serve on a grant review committee. Your efforts are critical to ensuring that the strongest proposals are presented to the entire membership as our finalists in June. And we thank you for your commitment and your involvement. It is truly a joy and treasure to work with you. To help the grant review committees operate smoothly, I serve as the grant chair on the board of directors. But I work very closely with the grants leadership team, which is composed of 11 women serving in the role of nonprofit liaison, GRC advisor, FRC advisor, GRC chairs, and co-chairs. And these are 11 incredibly intelligent, compassionate women who care about our organization and who deeply care about our community and are willing to share their time and talents in this leadership role. We all serve you as the grant review committees so that your experience with the GRC review process is as positive and fruitful as possible. So now, using the online signups that we had in our new portal, we used a form to pull together all of your information. We have now assigned everyone who is interested in a GRC to an individual grant review committee. We used your preferences as well as the requests to be together to pull the committees together. Paula Hinton spent countless hours putting this GRC committees together. She says that was actually a little bit harder, or probably just as hard as putting together the wedding tables or the seating arrangements at a wedding. So we thank her for her time. At this point in time, though, everyone should have submitted their conflicts of interest with nonprofits in our local community. And should you have a conflict of interest, which would arise and which we would find out after the LOIs have all been submitted, that does not preclude you from participating in a GRC. We will just reassign you to another GRC where that conflict does not exist. So I will pause just a second so that you can find your name on this list. You should also know that within the next week or so, you will be receiving a welcome email from your GRC chair, and that will provide links to this information as well as information about how to get started. Okay, I'll move on. To begin our training, we need to understand who is eligible to apply for our grants. So we give two different size grants. We give a $100,000 grant or impact grants, and this year we are able to actually fund 3 of these. These impact grants are given to organizations that have gross revenue in the last fiscal year that is greater than or equal to $250,000 a year. We reserve a smaller $25,000 grant, which is defined as the Inspire grant, and that smaller grant is reserved specifically for smaller nonprofits who have less than $250,000 a year in gross revenue. One thing that is important to recognize is that a nonprofit must have their 501c3 status at least 3 years in order to be eligible. They also need to serve the residents of the Peoria, Tazewell, or Woodford counties. The full grant amount has to be spent within 24 months. And so we don't want to be giving $100,000 and then have someone take 10 years to spend that. So we do ask in the budget that is actually submitted that the organization actually share the timeline for how they intend to spend that money within 24 months. And finally, the project criteria. We are looking for proposals that are being brought forward by a highly capable organization that addresses a measurable need with an innovative solution. And we'll talk more on what that actually means later. It is important to understand that any organization in our community is welcome to apply for our grants for programs or projects which support social outreach and charitable service programs that benefit the community at large. We do not ask organizations to hide who they are or to change who they are in order to apply for our grants. We do welcome any organization to apply which has a program or project that fits within those guidelines. However, we do ask that if an organization has restrictions or requirements related to participation in their program, that they disclose those restrictions to us. And we will specifically ask for disclosure on restrictions on participation, required statements of belief, required affiliation, and required public display of support. Capital expense or capital improvements are allowed. We will fund that, but we do want to make certain that all capital improvements are made to a facility or property that is owned by the nonprofit or is at least in a long-term lease with at least 5 years remaining on that lease. There's also some fine print kind of towards the bottom of this slide on what is not allowed. Things such as debt reduction, endowments, bridge funding, operational deficits, lobbying, those sorts of things we do not fund. And please note that we do fund fundraising and advertising expenses in some cases. So fundraising, there may be a portion of a budget that is part of fundraising, and that is that it's an outreach or an educational event where there might be some fundraising going on. We would still be open to funding those outreach or educational events. And additionally, the advertising expenses. There are some cases where advertising expenses may be allowed in that if it is advertising for the purpose of outreach, purpose of advertising for volunteers or things like that. However, we will not fund advertising where the sole purpose is just to meet fundraising goals. So we have worked this year to clarify our focus areas. We have 3 main focus areas for our larger impact grant. With our smaller Inspire grant actually reviewing any type of proposal submitted by a smaller organization. But our 3 focus areas are, the first is education and community development. What we are looking for here is projects or proposals that support the development of the talents within our community. This could obviously be linked to schools and education, but it could also be job readiness. It could be community leadership or civic engagement, or even cultural and arts advancement and talent development. The second focus area is health and community well-being. We're looking for projects here that care for the holistic health of the people in our community. Projects that address both mental and physical health, environmental health. We may be looking at addiction or addiction recovery programs, therapeutic programs, and even public safety initiatives and healthy recreational opportunities. The third and final focus area has been redefined a little bit. Historically, this was always called our family and social services focus area. However, we realized that families are really served throughout all of our focus areas. And so we really wanted to focus then this particular focus area in on social services and the basic needs of our community. So here we're looking at any project that is caring for basic needs. Projects that look at adequate and affordable housing, homelessness, hunger and food security, transportation, safety in terms of abuse, domestic violence, child abuse, safety for children in terms of foster care and adoptive services, things like that. Those are the types of projects that we are looking at in our social services and basic needs focus area. And then finally, our Inspire Grant Review Committee, smaller nonprofits submit into one category. They all compete against one another. And those projects can really serve anything that the other three focus areas are serving. We don't break it out for the smaller nonprofits. So once we know an organization and a proposal are eligible, we have three key criteria which we use to drive our evaluation of that proposal. And these are highlighted by the following statement. Impact Central Illinois has the desire to support programs or projects being proposed by a highly capable organization to address a measurable need within our community with an innovative solution. These three key criteria will drive the questions that we ask. You will find that as you are reading through the LOI and the full grant application, that the questions we ask are all tied back to one of these three criteria. We will also use these three criteria to drive the flow of the conversation and the reviews at the GRC meetings. You will be asked to come back often to the question, is it a highly capable organization? Is it a measurable need in our community? And is this an innovative solution? So many of you may say, okay, well, what do those particular criteria actually mean? And we've attempted to kind of highlight what it means below. So just to revisit our overall grant process, I'm going to revisit and reintroduce the 5-phase funnel or the 5-phase process. If an organization in a proposed program or project is eligible for a grant, then they step into our grant review process. And this is the process that as a GRC reviewer, you help make happen. So this is a 5-phase funnel, which at 4 points in this process, our GRCs, which are you, or our FRCs, which are also you, evaluate the proposals and then invite a select number of organizations to move forward in the process. Our questions about a proposal actually increase in detail as the organization moves through the process. And the grant reviewers will continue to learn about the proposal as more detail is shared through both the full grant application and then ultimately the site visit. After step 4, which is the site visit, the GRCs are responsible for selecting the 2 best organizations and proposals as finalists who will come to present to our entire membership at our annual meeting in June. So what does that look like for this year? There are 3 GRC review meetings between the months of February and May, with site visits to our semifinalists scheduled for April 27th and April 28th, and then May 1st and May 2nd. This is a Thursday, Friday, and a Monday, Tuesday at the end of April, early May. We spread it over 2 weeks so that hopefully those of you who might have to be out of town for work can schedule and attend the following week or the previous week. We are hopeful that by setting the dates now, more of our GRC reviewers can come to at least one of the site visits. It really is an informative and fruitful investment of time. We actually go to the nonprofits and we meet with them and we meet the people who are behind the words and the vision that you have read about in both the LOI and the full grant application. And that really brings it to life, and something that most GRC reviewers will say is an experience that had the most impact on them. So in following this process, each GRC will review the proposals submitted in their area, choose the best 2 proposals to be brought forward as finalists for the entire membership to hear from and vote on June 6th of 2023. At that annual meeting, one of those 2 proposals will win the grant, and the second will receive a smaller unrestricted donation, which recognizes their efforts and the work required to step into our process. Not to mention that all 8 finalists who present on June 6th will have a chance to meet and greet with our entire membership before the presentations, and then they have an opportunity to share about their vision for their project with the entire organization, with our entire organization that evening. The winners will be voted on and announced on June 6th of 2023. As we begin the grant review process, we know that a majority of our members have never reviewed a grant before, and we welcome that. We do not require that you have any experience. We truly believe that in welcoming everyone to the grant review table and educating women about nonprofits in our community, the needs of our community, what grants like ours look like and what they can do, that we can start to create ripples of transformation, not only through the community, but also through our own families and through ourselves. And so we welcome everyone to the grant review table. It is important to note that we are serious about conflicts of interest. A conflict of interest would exist if you sit on the board, you're an employee, or an immediate family member is on the board or is an employee of an organization. But a conflict could also exist if you are hired by an organization or if you stand to benefit financially from the completion of a proposal due to contract work. That would all be considered a conflict of interest. Again, a conflict of interest does not prevent you from participating on a GRC. It's very, very important that we reassign you to a different GRC where that conflict does not exist. So additionally, it is important to note that we are very serious about confidentiality. Information should never be discussed outside of the GRC committee. Our process is kind of a lengthy process. It starts in June and we don't know the actual winners or it starts in January, excuse me, and we don't know the winners until June. And so we're asking our nonprofits to step into a process for 6 months. And so it is important that we treat the information that they share with us, both their vision and narratives about their proposals, as well as their financial information, with the utmost confidentiality and respect. And so that is why we are serious about not discussing the nonprofits which have applied outside of the GRC meeting. So now stepping into the role of a grant reviewer, I think the first step is to imagine yourself in the role of an analyst. And what does that actually mean? In short, it means bring yourself to the grant review table. Bring your experiences, your education, your wisdom, your worldview, and your unique perspective. Bring it to the table and don't be afraid to share with the others around the table. Everyone who steps up to be a part of the grant review committee has a similar heart in that they care about this community and they want to choose the best projects that can really make an impact on the people in our community. I want you to also approach this role of analyst, approach it with a curiosity, and do not be afraid to educate yourself. You can always visit the organization's website. It's actually submitted with the LOI, or do research for articles or local needs analysis that are available so that you can learn about the issues and about what's going on. Financial reviews will be conducted by the Financial Review Committee or the FRC, but don't be afraid of the numbers, even if you're not a numbers person. Open up the budget. See where that nonprofit is going to spend your $100,000 or your $25,000. Go ahead and look at the line items and see where those expenses are going to be. The only thing that we do ask, and we're very serious about this, is that you do not contact the nonprofits directly. We manage all communication with the nonprofit and with the nonprofit community through our nonprofit liaison. Jamie Truelove actually sits in that role, and she is our point person to manage the communications so that we know that our messaging is clear and consistent and fair to everyone involved. Every woman on the GRC has a voice, a story, and a unique perspective to share in the grant review process. And part of what makes us better together is creating an environment where those stories are able to be shared freely. We are serious about maintaining a respectful environment so that every woman feels comfortable bringing their perspective to the table. Bias and hearsay can actually derail a constructive conversation. And so our GRC chairs and co-chairs are asked to facilitate through that, and our board representatives are there to help as well. Constructive conversation is so important, but should you have concerns that not all voices are being heard around the table, please, please, please contact your GRC chair or co-chair, or contact either myself or Paula Hinton directly, because we want to know and we want to do all we can to ensure that every woman who comes to the grant review table feels as if her voice is heard. And it takes all of that, all of us, to make that a reality. Finally, our collective giving values. Well, I guess that's probably covered by my face, so I'm just going to tell you what that is. Finally, our collective giving values. We value finding the best transformative projects that every member in our organization can support. We want to make certain that the finalists that step forward to our entire membership in June, that they deserve to be there. They have strong proposals, they're highly capable organizations, and they truly are addressing a measurable need in our community with an innovative solution. Now, we are selecting the strongest proposals from what we have received. We as an organization do not tell the nonprofits what we want to fund. We actually listen to them and we read what they say. We listen, or we read about their vision, we read about the needs, and then we find the strongest and most compelling projects from those ideas. And so it's important to know that we are looking for the strongest from what we have received. So this is exciting because our new portal opened to accept LOIs on January 10th. An organization must submit an LOI if they want to be considered in this grant cycle, this 2023 grant cycle. Our online portal will also serve to facilitate our grant review process itself. You will each be set up in a specific GRC committee, and that committee will only see the LOI proposals which are submitted to it specifically. Each GRC member will automatically receive the information about the LOIs that you will need to complete your review before each of the 3 GRC review meetings. So we are live and in action with our online portal as we speak. When an LOI has been screened, So there's kind of a two-step process. The first is a screening process, and then it goes to a scoring. The screening will actually take place by myself and Paula Hinton, and what we will be doing is actually screening to make sure that the organization is eligible for our grants. Last year, for example, we received a grant submitted from an organization in Chicago, in Cook County. That organization clearly is not eligible for our grants, and we don't want our grant review committees having to read through that and filter through that. And so we do a preliminary screening to make sure everyone is eligible. Have they been around for 3 years? Do they have 501c3 status? Are they local? Do they serve the residents of our Tri-County region? Once we make sure that they are eligible, we will actually approve them. We will approve their screen, and that will automatically send an email to everyone on that grant review committee that there's an LOI submission that is ready to be read and preliminarily scored. So each member of the related GRC, that is for each LOI, will receive an email flagging them that an LOI submission has been made and is ready for their review. It will be in your inbox. Each LOI is a different email. The link that will take you to the portal to review is embedded in the bottom of that email. So if you open the email and you click on that link, you will automatically be taken to the portal where the LOI will be waiting for you to open it up and read it. Secondly, the link from the email will take you to the portal where under your member information, you will see proposal submissions. So not every member in Impact Central Illinois sees this section called proposal submissions. Only the grant review committees actually see this. And each GRC member, you will only see your respective GRC. So if you're on Education and Community Development, you will not be able to see the LOIs that are linked with the Inspire GRC. You will see the Education and Community Development LOIs. So in that, you will notice that it will say your GRC name, and it will say that you have X number to score. If you click on that in orange where it says that you have X to score, you click on that link and it will actually take you to the next slide, which is the inbox and outbox. It will take you to a screen that actually is your LOI submissions. And the left side of the screen is actually the inbox of your LOI submissions. The right side is your outbox. An LOI that still remains for you to read, so something that you still need to read and score, will be on the left side of your screen in your inbox. You can click on that. That will open it up. You can page down. You can read through it, score it, and submit your score. And as soon as you submit your score, that specific LOI will move from your inbox over to your outbox. So then you'll know how many are left to read by those that remain in your inbox. And so to open the LOI itself, you simply click on the name in the inbox and it will open. You can scroll down, you can page down to read the LOI. Both the questions that were asked by us and the answers which were submitted by the nonprofit are available for viewing. So you'll actually see the question we ask, and then right below it is the response. And you can read through all of those responses. Again, we do ask for specific questions on the disclosures. And then at the LOI phase, we are asking for a very high-level summary. So a high-level summary of the vision for the project. And then we specifically ask the organizations, please in one paragraph tell us, why are you highly capable? In one paragraph, please tell us why this is a measurable need. And number 3, in one paragraph, please tell us why this is an innovative solution. And so that's a very high level summary that you will get. It will whet your appetite to learn more. But what we're trying to decide is which are the strongest proposals that you want to learn more about. And then you should know that on the full grant application, more detailed questions are going to be asked to start to answer the questions that might remain about, hey, how exactly is this going to work? Or what exactly is this timeline going to be? Those answers and those questions will be asked at the full grant application stage. The LOI, again, is your high-level first look at the proposal, and it won't answer all your questions, but it should get you excited to learn more. It should whet your appetite to learn more. Finally, if you page all the way down of your LOI, you can actually open the submitted budget. It will be a link that can actually open, and you will be able to see the submitted budget to review the project budget. You can see other sources of income that they'll be using to fund the project, as well as how they envision spending the $100,000 or $25,000 grant that we award. And so I encourage each member, because every member of the GRC has access to open that budget. Don't be afraid of the numbers. Go ahead and open it up, click on it, and just learn about, okay, how's our money going to be spent for this project? And that is it. Once you have paged all the way down, you've opened up the budget, you've read through it, it is time to do your scoring. Scoring is actually located at the very bottom of the LOI. To get there, all you do is you just keep paging down. You keep pressing that down arrow, you just keep paging down on the right side. 2 scoring flags, you will actually see where it is the scoring. It'll say LOI scoring. 2 scoring flags are available for you to use to reach out to your GRC specifically. If you have a concern about a submission, you can actually flag the submissions concern box, and this will notify your GRC chair to reach out and connect with you prior to the GRC meeting. And that way, if you do have a concern, you can connect with your chair and make certain that they're able to accurately reflect your concerns in the facilitation of the meeting. This just gives you a different way to communicate with them so that no one feels the pressure of having to raise their hand in a full meeting room with a concern. It gives you an opportunity to raise your hand and address concerns beforehand. Secondly, there's a second flag called immediate rejection. If you flag the immediate rejection, you are signaling to your GRC chair that this proposal is not strong and that you do not feel it should even be considered or discussed. This flag is really simply there as a tool. Should your GRC actually receive a large number of LOI proposals, you may decide that if there are some that are unanimously flagged as immediate rejection, you may decide to kind of bulk vote them out, bulk vote them as no's, without spending time in the meeting talking about them individually. This is there simply as a tool for you to use on those proposals that seem much, much weaker and that when compared to the others that are being considered. The most important box on the preliminary scoring is the score strength. This is a 5-point scoring with 5 being the best. So imagine 5 stars is the best. All you have to do is use the down arrow key to select your score. 1 through 5, 5 being the best. You can then add any comments or concerns or notes that you would like to remember about that LOI. You can do notes for yourself even because you can reopen this and you can revisit this. It'll be sitting in your inbox. So you'll always have access to see what you wrote about an LOI and how you scored. But in order for your score to actually be fed into a report for the GRC chairs to use, you do need to hit the complete scoring button at the bottom of the page. So you hit the complete scoring to submit your scores. This feeds a report to the GRC chairs, and they will use that report to facilitate the discussion at the GRC meetings. So that's it. The number scores as well as the flags do feed the report. that the GRC chairs will check before the meeting. And again, your goal as a GRC committee is to invite the strongest proposals forward to the next step in the funnel. So please note that you are able to change your scores as often as you like. It immediately changes to be reflected in the scores reported. So just know that you can do that, and you can also change your scores after the conversation in the GRC meeting. It will automatically reflect, and then those reports can be used to make the final decision. So that's it. Please note you will want to open each LOI, because each LOI, you open it, you read it, and you submit a preliminary score for that specific LOI. So the last thing is that we do ask you to please RSVP if you will attend in person or via Zoom with our GRC review meetings. We are so lucky to be able to use the Peoria Next Innovation Center, and they actually let us use multiple conference rooms, really the whole space in that beautiful facility. But we are growing. We have about 99 people involved in our GRC review. And so we do have to be conscientious about space planning. And so if you could take a moment when you get an event invitation to RSVP and let us know if you will be there physically or if you will be there virtually, that will allow us to space plan accordingly. And that is both needed and appreciated. So thank you for that. And then finally, thank you. Here we go. We're kicking off. As complicated as this presentation might sound, it really is a straightforward process. I am 100% confident that every one of you is capable of serving in this role and of doing like a crazy awesome job in this role. Don't hesitate though, if you have any questions, to reach out and let us know. Your GRC chairs and your co-chairs are there to help you and to help guide you through the process. Your board is also there and represented on every GRC and is there to listen to your concerns and to help you with the process. And then please know that Paula Hinton, Jamie Truelove, Deanna Bailey, our FRC chair, and myself, we are always available to answer questions. So we love this process. We love sharing it with all of you. So please let us know if we can make your experience richer. And most importantly, let us know if you are confused and you have any questions, because we are here to help and to serve. And so I thank you very much for taking the time to watch this training session. I know that I'm not a experienced or professional presenter, and so I thank you for sticking with me. And again, thanks for being a part of Impact Central Illinois. We are very excited about what's going to happen in June, and we're very excited about kicking off 2023 and this grant review process with each of you. So I thank you for your time, and hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care.